So I just finished exploring the Thronebreaker event quest, which is required to unlock Paragon Gauntlet. Still kind of annoyed by that. I wish it was just completion, but at least they made it significantly shorter, so it's not that bad. While I was exploring Thronebreaker, I was just using whatever champs I had in my team for the bosses, which just happened to be the champs that are good for the class nodes. But for this Gauntlet, I decided to use my favorite Trinity, which is Kingpin, the Hood, and Mr. Negative. I don't know if it has an official name, but I was thinking of calling it the Dapper Trinity, because they're all just dressed really well. Like they're all wearing shirts, ties, and either a suit jacket or a waistcoat. So yeah, they all look great and are just very powerful champs on their own. And when they come together, there is a lot that they can handle. Just in Alliance War alone, I don't think there's a champ I've used more than Mr. Negative over the past 2 years. Then the Hood has been my other regular. I can't even remember the last time I used a Mystic who was not him. Like not even Doom and Tiger get used as much. And then Kingpin, well, we all know that Kingpin is just an absolute monster, one of the best champs in the game, arguably the best skill champ. In fact, I'd say overall he is. As much as I love my rank 5 Nick Fury and Valkyrie, who I tend to enjoy more than Kingpin, I can't deny that he is probably the most useful on a daily basis. I mean, he's one of those champs that gets banned regularly in Alliance War, even without an attack tactic. Just because he answers so many problems, with one of the main ones being hazard shift nodes, or any scenario where there's a lot of debuffs involved. And that's why I used him for the first 3 fights on this quest, because there are a lot of debuffs. And he is one of the few champs that just excels and becomes so much stronger when he purifies debuffs. So these first 3 fights were pretty straightforward. I didn't even play particularly well. I got hit way more than I should have against small man, but didn't take that much damage. And this fight was one of those that you can kind of cheese just by dexing a lot, because that'll place 3 debuffs on you and you can purify a lot of those and gain overpower buffs pretty quickly. There's also that shock node that places a shock debuff on you if you don't make contact with the opponent for 6 seconds. And fight or flight, which can be annoying but can also help you or work to your advantage. Like when I was too late to hit him after a parry stun, I did take a special one, but I went unstoppable in the middle of it, so I didn't take the full damage, but was able to avoid that last hit. And I'm only realizing now that I'm rewatching it how recklessly I played this fight. But that's just the power of Kingpin. I mean, you can make so many mistakes or get hit quite a bit and still finish with a good amount of health. And at this stage I've purified so many debuffs in such a short time frame that I'm just getting overpower buffs like there's no tomorrow. And with 3 of them, the damage is gonna be quite nutty. Saw some 20k medium crits, so yeah, not bad. So now we have one more Kingpin fight, which is gonna be against Red Hawk, because again, lots of debuffs. There's Fractured Guard, a node that I actually really like, because it just places an armor break on you whenever you block, and I take that path in map 8, so for me it's just free healing with willpower. Then there's also Toxic Thoughts, which places a poison debuff on both of you whenever you parry. Fortunately it's not a very strong poison, because I noticed that the Fractured Guard armor break gets purified first, and then the poison remains. Although once you have 8+ debuffs on you, you purify everything and gain overpower. The most annoying node in this fight is probably Encroaching Stun, because you have to time your special attacks to avoid getting stunned. The redlining node can help with that because it gives you more combat power rate when you have at least 1 bar of power. But when you have a little more than 2 bars, you instantly get power drained to 0, which you want to avoid because you also take a pretty chunky burst of direct damage. But with Kingpin, it's very easy to play around these nodes because first of all, his special 1 spam game is very strong. And with the Hood synergy, you are guaranteed to purify the Encroaching Stun, as long as you're not getting other debuffs on you at the same time, which is easy enough to not do. It's just a matter of not blocking at the same time. Unless you have at least 8 debuffs, then you'll just purify everything. And you can also utilize the relic to avoid taking a combo when Encroaching Stun triggers. Doesn't really matter for Kingpin, but might be useful in general for dealing with the node with any champ. Just another thing that relics are useful for, they can help you bypass certain nodes and abilities. So not too bad with Kingpin, and that is his contribution for this quest. We still have 3 more fights for the Hood and Mr. Negative. Next up is Baron Zemo, and he has a few nodes that can make the fight a little more annoying. For me, the main one would be Repeat Offender, because that places a taunt debuff on him whenever you use the same basic attack twice in a row, so that just gives him more ammunition to cleanse and then root you. And while rooted, you will also be special locked for 3 seconds. He also has Enhanced Special 2, Ebb & Flow Intercept, and a node that makes him immune to ability accuracy reduction, although it gets disabled for 10 seconds after you intercept him. But the funny thing is, with the hood I could almost ignore all the nodes, because the invisibility makes it easy to intercept, Special 2 Fate Seal lowers ability accuracy, and just the playstyle in general. I don't really need to parry, and I have some pretty good power steal from the SIG ability, which is why I really value that SIG and took mine to 200 a while ago, and also why I am considering him to be my very first Ascended 6-star, because my other two favorite champs, Guardian and Negative, are already in the Titan Crystal. So yeah, this was just a very clean textbook hood fight. Next up we have the new and improved Iron Man, and finally this man got the buff he deserved. Cause he's just too much of an iconic character to be considered meme tier. Would love to see Cap get buffed next, then maybe OG Thor and Black Widow, although those two don't need an overhaul, just a few tweaks here and there should be alright. But anyway, we have an OG Iron Man with some fresh animations, abilities, and looking shinier than last time. Fortunately, he's not really a defender, so you can use pretty much any good champ against him. Even with the nose, he's not that bad. Just need to be aware that he will be stun immune when he dashes at you. Although it has an 8-second cooldown after you parry, so it's almost like Iron Man Infinity War where you can't parry his medium projectile attacks. And there is a node that places a degen on you after 30 seconds if you or him haven't had your backs against the wall for a combined time of 12 seconds. But I just ignored this node since I am using Negative because he is one champ that heals whenever he takes passive degen. But the degen itself isn't exactly life-threatening. It only takes 30% of your max health over 5 seconds, so you can use any champ and take it twice or 3 times without actually dying. Then there's Special Burst Lockdown but for the attacker, so that just makes it easier to counter his healing when he drops to 15%, which at SIG 200 is very potent. He gains about 2/3 of his max health. But throwing a special attack will place an armor break and heal block debuff, so they just made it very easy to counter. Not that it matters for Negative, because he can just reverse the healing with the Petrifies and the degen debuffs with Despair. And last but not least we have Gladiator, and with him it's mostly just buff control really, so hood to the rescue. Even though I started with just 6 bullets, he has plenty of buffs, so I'll gain plenty more throughout the fight. So for the most part I was playing it like a normal hood fight, although I was also letting him miss a little more than I usually would just to get a bit more bullets. And it's just more fun playing around with miss and having access to that power steal. I did get a little carried away though where I got clipped by a special one. A little bit unlucky though because he had an 80% chance to miss, but he did not miss. Fortunately the hits that did miss were the ones that apply the cold snap debuffs, but there's a good chance the Fate Seal would have bypassed that. Now I'm getting some pretty good power steal RNG, although I don't have a lot of bullets left, but I don't need a lot because one more special 2 followed by a heavier attack was enough to finish him off. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. Hope you found it interesting, and as always, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.